Yes.
Your t-shirt.
Oh
no. I'm not as I'm a little bit more subtle.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's
With your
yours?
golem in the background and
Yes,
your
mate.
map of
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more subtle.
I'm really subtle here. I'm a real
map of
casual
Molly
fan. Yeah.
God, I'm just so not prepared. Not
Oh,
prepared.
so not prepared
Not
for
prepared.
any of this. Not prepared at all.
Not prepared.
I'm not. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Brothers Take podcast. I'm Chris. I'm joined once again by my brothers Adam
Hello.
and Eric.
Hello.
And we are back in the room to talk all things that we find interesting. That's what we do here. This is the week of Gamescom. So if anyone sees anything during the week, game related, and wants to shout it out to us, please do get in touch. There should be some exciting reveals, and we will definitely be talking about those in next week's episode once everything from Gamescom has come out. But this week, we wanted to talk about some interesting news that came out during the week, which is that Embracer Group, which is a gaming company, have bought the entirety of the Lord of the Rings. What a weird thing. And then there was all these like talks about what they might do with that property. And it's not just games. They've literally bought the rights to everything. So there may be future Lord of the Rings movies, Lord of the Rings games, new Lord of the Rings merch, trading cards, everything and anything. And if you've listened to us before, you should know that we are massive Lord of the Rings fans.
I wouldn't say
Huge.
massive.
I wouldn't say that. That's not true. I'd say casual. We're huge Lord of the Rings fans, but maybe we're not Stephen Colbert. Is that fair?
That's
we
very
can't tell
fair.
we can't tell you everything, but we are huge fans of the property and Peter Jackson's trilogy in particular, greatest movies ever made. That's not an opinion. That's not a take. That is a fact.
That's bad. It actually has, that trilogy has the most awards ever.
Oh, actually,
in
yeah,
history
maybe on
of-
that merit, then it actually technically is the greatest movie trilogy ever made.
Yeah.
It's like, there is reason behind it. So we're going to talk about our hopes and our concerns for what this means for the future of Lord of the Rings as a property, because we might have very different takes and different opinions on what this means for the future and what we hope to see from a very beloved property. We'd love to hear from you guys too. So if you're watching this on YouTube, jump down in the comments, share your thoughts at any point on your personal feelings towards Lord of the Rings and also what you hope for the future of the property in the hands of Embracer Group. If you listen to this on audio platforms, then you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take to give your take on everything we bring up here today. But without further ado, let's jump into Middle-earth.
I'd love to do that.
I'd love to do that.
Wouldn't
That's
that
what
be-
I want.
That's
Well,
really what I
yeah,
want.
but just the Shire.
No.
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 I don't know. Rohan looks like it's got
No,
rotten
no,
food, and
no.
Gondor gets constantly sieged, and Mordor just looks like
I
you
don't
just get
think
the
you
worst
got...
tan.
Like, I got what Adam was saying. Adam got what I was saying. I don't think you got what we were saying. I don't physically want me as Chris Maguire to be in Middle-earth. But what I do want for the future of this is to jump into Middle-earth.
Create my own character, walk around, pop into the
Yes.
Green Dragon, have a pint,
Yes.
swing over to
Yes.
Rivendell.
Yes.
Yep.
Now we're talking. Oh, well, from that perspective, then maybe we'll start and as a primarily gaming podcast, maybe we'll start from the gaming sphere. And since this is actually a gaming company, that's something that they might be focused on.
Well, let me ask you this, Chris.
First. Okay. Sure.
Have you
Okay.
ever heard of Embracer Group until now?
I haven't. No. But apparently they have bought quite a lot
Yes.
in the last year.
I think it's a name that, like, because I remember some of the acquisitions that
Yeah, see,
happened. So
yeah.
they bought Tomb Raider and Deus Ex. And I remember that.
In fact, they own Crystal Dynamics, I believe.
Oh,
and
really?
Eidos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I heard that they've bought a lot of properties that Square Enix once owned, and that
Yeah.
people are
And we were kind
wondering...
of worried, weren't we? But I think I remember us.
I
speaking
forgot that it
about
was
that.
Embracer. That's what it is.
I think
every
the
time they buy
name-
something, I forget them.
I think the name is just not quite memorable, is it?
Yeah, but they actually own a lot. And I was watching someone else's video saying there's been a lot of theories in the last while that that Sony might be bidding to acquire Square Enix, right? That's been like in the rumor mill for a while. And I watched a video with someone who was saying maybe we've been focusing on the wrong person. Maybe Embracer have their eye on buying Square Enix because they've slowly brought their other properties and maybe they're buying around them.
Yeah.
And they've just bought Lord of the Rings, so it's not like it's not like they have a shortage of money here.
I know, but it's like who are these people, right? Like they used to be THQ Nordic.
Wait,
right.
What?
Yeah.
So what did
right?
I thought those guys just vanished.
Exactly.
So
what did they make?
THQ Nordic. Didn't they do?
Why am I thinking of Star Wars games?
They did the Dawn of War games, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I think they did Darksiders, did they not?
Yes.
Wow. Then.
Yeah. Correct.
I thought they just
Correct.
disappeared.
This is crazy.
So I was looking through like to see, okay, well, who else do they own? They own
These acquisitions are crazy.
Coffee Stain.
Coffee Stain,
of course.
Which are they've made the famous Goat Simulator.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
They've got Goat Simulator 3 coming out.
They own Dark Horse.
The comics?
100%. Yeah, they
Spawn and all that. Okay.
They own Hellboy.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there's other like Saber. I think is another gaming.
Have they just been slowly and very secretly acquiring all these things and becoming massive?
Yeah, it seems that way. Like we all had our eyes we were all like looking towards Microsoft and stuff like that. But there has been this evil growing in the East. It seems that we haven't.
I was just about to say, like, we've been focused on the orcs outside the gates, right?
Yeah,
but the black sails are coming from the river, and we didn't realize they were coming.
So a very quiet.
We need more men.
Seems to be a very quiet Swedish company. Gearbox.
Wow.
They own Gearbox.
What's Gearbox? Who's that?
Like Borderlands, isn't it?
Jesus Christ,
that's Borderlands, isn't it?
I know Gearbox, but I can't remember what they make.
Yeah, I believe so.
God.
Yeah, and now they own Middle Earth Enterprises.
Yeah. First of all, I didn't even know there was such a thing as a Middle Earth Enterprise.
That's not
to be honest with you. I didn't know that was a.
Okay.
So does this mean then with Rings of Power around the corner?
Mm-hmm.
Do they now own that?
No. Okay, so they don't own everything. Like that's got like a Lord of the Rings or Middle Earth connection, right? So
so I thought they did.
No. So they own the licensing for it, so it can continue that Rings of Power. Amazon's show can continue. Well, it has to anyway because it's under contract. But it would be that's who they're getting their licensing from now. Is now Embracer.
So let's say they had signed a 3-season deal initially, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, and I think it's more, but let's say they signed a 3-season deal, and then they want to make a further 3 seasons. Will they now have to go to Embracer?
Yeah, actually, I think it's more complicated.
Write up a new contract there. Is that what it is?
I think it's more complicated than that. I think they'd have to. Yes, they'd have to go to Embracer, but they also have to go through New Line.
Holy shit!
And I think they might have to go through Weta. Like, there's a ton of licenses there.
So it's not accurate to say that they own all the rights to Lord of the Rings. Really?
No,
because there's a few different hands and a few different.
They would own the rights to movies, merchandising, toys, games, puzzles, things like that. Like, and because that's which is separate to the Tolkien estate, which is they own the books, right? So the Tolkien estate own the books, and I
don't think they'll ever. They won't sell that.
Oh God, no. So
they won't.
So the Middle Earth Enterprises still doesn't have access to something like the Silmarillion. So it's only the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit.
Yes.
Which is how we got the Peter Jackson movies. So the original owners would have been licensing that out.
I want to know, in preparation for this, right? I was like, I had a lot going. I was going through other things, and I didn't have enough time to rewatch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I know those movies out anyway. But instead, I decided to look into because I was like, okay, what's like the worst case? So best case scenario is like Peter Jackson quality stuff.
Mhm.
That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, Ralph Bakshi stuff. I decided to look at the old
I don't
Bakshi
know if that is the
animated
worst
movie.
case scenario.
It's pretty bad.
I think
I was like, I have a bad memory of it, and then I looked at it again, and I was like, oh yeah, no, this is really bad. This is awful. What were they thinking?
it's actually
It
okay up to a
starts.
point though.
No, it's not, Adam. No, it's not. It starts with shadow puppetry, and then
Yeah.
it's not good shadow puppetry. It's like a
But
high school play kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
And then you see an animated fish, and then it
Yeah.
goes back to the shadow puppetry, and you're
Yeah.
like, wait, so what is the medium of this movie? And do you remember when Frodo and the hobbits go into the prancing pony?
Yep.
And everyone else is horribly rotoscoped to the point where they just look like real people, and you're like, this is fucking freaky, and it's not good.
Yeah, no, the quality of it isn't great, but the how it adapted itself from book to film is pretty good because we can't say it's not
In terms of like,
because Peter Jackson ripped
well,
it
yeah,
off.
and
So
there's no denying that there are scenes in it that inspired Peter Jackson.
well, that was the
'Cause
one
they're
like so
directly in the movie.
we were introduced to the Lord of the Rings through the Peter Jackson films, right? So now when we read the material, we can't help but have some form of bias, where those books are kind of seeping in a little bit, and it's hard to imagine as we're reading it not the Peter Jackson movies. I
Yeah,
find,
it is. Yeah.
but so that animated movie is to Peter what his movies are to us. That's his introduction to the Lord of the Rings,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
he read the books.
Yeah. And I know. And
Yeah.
there is certain scenes that are like, in particular, the Black Rider looking for the hobbits as they're hiding under is directly referenced.
Yeah.
He does do it better, I have to say.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, don't get me wrong. It's
But I think like
influential in
that's
that
obviously
sense.
a product of its time, and I don't think you'd get that today. I think the worst.
I don't think
case
it was
scenario,
liked at the time.
No, well, it wouldn't be because you're missing like so much, including
Well, it
the
was
destruction of the ring.
They made an agreement that it was going to be a two-parter.
Yeah.
And
That
it did so badly that they never made the second part.
Yeah. That actually
So-
was exactly how the Peter Jackson movies were going to go.
I know. Yeah,
It was going
I know.
to
Yeah,
the
it was
first
going to.
film was going to end with the Battle of Helm's Deep, just like the animated movie. So it was essentially he was going to make a live action version of that animated movie
Instead of the books, but then he didn't say that to anyone because they had such negative.
Correct, yeah.
You know, like if you said, "Oh, I'm making a live action adaptation of that Ralph Bakshi animated movie,"
Yeah.
people would be like, "No."
Leave.
It's like, okay,
Leave now.
well, I'm making a
never
live
come
action
back.
movie of the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, do that. It's like, well,
Yeah.
it is the.
I
it is
think
the
the worst
Bakshi.
case scenario in terms of new film footage will be things like the way the Resident Evil stuff has been adapted.
Oh sure, okay.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, this is so incorrect.
Yeah, where it's like a slight reference, or like the way Priest was adapted, right? So it's not even period correct. It's like they base it in like a cyberpunk future, but the dude's name is Aragorn. Like that's worst case scenario.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
that's stupid.
So cool.
I feel like that. I feel like we don't need to be concerned about that.
No, I don't think so.
No, they're not going to do that. But from that article you did share,
Mm.
wasn't it that like there's talks or at least hints or rumors that there could be like they're delving into exploring more of the character of Aragorn or Galadriel or all those different characters?
Yeah, there definitely seems to be interest in doing additional movies surrounding those characters, and
Okay, well, in that sense, we might. I was gonna go games first, but fuck it, let's do movies first. Let's do movies first because that's an automatic concern, and we were brought into this world because of Peter Jackson's movies.
Not because of love and marriage. Just Peter
Uh,
Jackson's movies, then we formed.
Well, not this world, but that world is in this world. You know what I mean?
yeah, the world, the real world. The world in which we are living is just a fantasy. The real world is Middle Earth. No, I'm joking. Okay, so what do you think about the idea then of basically a Middle Earth cinematic universe in which these characters will get like singular movies and things? What do you think of that?
That would be absolutely awful.
I don't know, Adam. I feel like when I was watching Fellowship of the Ring, I was like, I'm really confused. And I think all these characters need origin story movies so I can understand who they are.
Yeah,
It's
it's
really
really hard.
confused in that movie.
It's really hard to get to grips of
Yeah,
why
like,
is Legolas such a silent character? You know,
Character.
like
Yeah.
why does he hate Gimli? I need to know all of that.
Yeah. Boromir's death would have been more impactful if he had a whole trilogy first.
I sometimes like I know you, but sometimes I'm not sure your sarcasm comes across on this podcast, Eric.
I think out of all the characters they named, so it was Aragorn,
Mhm.
Gandalf, Galadriel, Gollum, and Eowyn, wasn't it? Was the characters I think they named in the article?
Yeah, but I
as
think-
of
yeah.
interest.
But as well, I think that's just like examples, like
Yeah.
such as.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that's
Definitive.
And I don't
Yeah.
think
Well,
it would
it's
be.
rumors. Like it's not definitive that they're even going to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's not that. That's a quote from them.
I don't know. I know it is a quote from them. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But so they obviously have an interest in wanting to explore these characters in additional movies. The
Mhm.
only one of the only character there, like, there's no point in exploring Eowyn because her character arc is explored in Lord of the Rings. That's
Yes.
essentially the meat of her character arc. Before that, it's like, well, she hasn't really delved into the warrior character yet, and then
No.
after that, she pretty much settles down with Faramir. So it's like, well,
Yeah,
how
I mean,
much
the
that do you
whole-
want to watch? Like,
The best part of her arc is in the movies.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's her breaking the mold of who she's supposed to be and becoming the warrior she really is, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Gandalf, similarly enough. So I think the only interesting character there that you could possibly make a film out of is Aragorn,
I 100% agree.
because he has been and done everything. You know,
In
like,
his days as Strider, the
David
wandering
Strider, or the time when he was fighting with Theoden.
Theoden's grandfather.
Sorry, Theoden's grandfather.
Yeah,
there
there's
you go.
that too. Yeah.
So
He's
yeah,
been- he's
Aragorn
been
being
everywhere.
86. Yeah.
Yeah,
86 years old. You got a lot of material there.
He of the characters they named, I do agree. He's the only one that I thought, yeah, you could actually make decent films out of that character.
I
the
think
others
you do
probably
one-
come into it at some point.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, but there's no need for it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's,
No.
well, we definitely don't need Galadriel. We're getting a whole TV show.
Season.
Yeah, maybe you could have Gandalf in a Aragorn film because they have a long friendship,
Yeah, there's definitely history. there.
and so there's nothing wrong with them meeting, for example, in one of his movies.
And
But-
Aragorn and Legolas would have friendship as well. So like
Yeah,
you could almost
you could. Yeah, the characters could be in his movies.
Yeah.
That's
and
established
he
in The
could-
Hobbit, though, isn't it? The friendship.
Oh, sorry. yeah, yeah.
Jesus Christ! Oh my God!
Best writing ever.
Why was that so bad? Did Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens work on the Hobbit trilogy?
Yeah.
Did
Same-
they?
It's the same crew. Like, it's no different.
It's just hard to believe though.
It just goes to show that, like, what made
With
the
very
Lord,
little prep time.
yeah, what made the Lord of the Rings brilliant is that there was enough time to make it. Like, technically, that's been in the making since that animated movie was released.
Right.
Like, he's been stewing with that, like, for that long. The Hobbit is like
how he would do it. Yeah,
The Hobbit was like
it's an afterthought.
halfway through production was like, shit, we lost our director. Can you take over?
Yeah,
And then
Yeah.
they started rewriting it and remaking it. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a.
No, I know it was
and-
doomed from the beginning. Really.
I mean, that's when WB got involved.
Yes. Embracer, don't be like WB.
Yeah, don't be like WB.
But this whole thing of like possibly greenlighting multiple movies based on named characters from the Lord of the Rings sounds like something WB.
they have
would
to
do.
be really cautious with how they approach that.
It's silly, to be honest with you. Don't
Yeah.
make a Gollum movie. People don't even like the idea of a Gollum video game. It's
No.
silly.
Because
Why would
there's
you do that?
definitely even online, like the MCU model is quite attractive. I think to a lot of companies, they see this as
Yes.
a huge moneymaker. But
Yes.
you're really seeing, like, I've noticed it quite a lot. I mean, it's about time, I think, but you're starting to see huge amount of fatigue with Marvel stuff. Like, people are
Yes.
actually sick of it now.
Yeah.
And I mean, that should have been a long time coming, really.
Well, I think the reality is, right.
And Star
Let's
Wars.
let's take off the gloves here, right? The MCU sucks, but the reason it works so well is because it's based on comic book characters and they're adapting the comic book experience into movies, right?
Yes.
Which is all these different issues are going to collect and culminate in a big story that we're building up to. And because it's kind of comic books are basically, and God, I read them too, but it's basically nerd soap operas. You know what I mean? Who got with who? Who's after changing to what? Oh, did you see in the next issue what's after happening to this character? And oh, there's a new Batman, and it's not the old Batman anymore. It's all kind of drama and gossip, really, and that's why it works over this long form storytelling. You can't just apply that to everything.
Hmm.
And so, like, to give each character in the Lord of the Rings their own cinematic movie where they would have their own arc and maybe it'll all culminate and eventually land on something. Like, would be the same approach. Like, would you do that with another beloved popular book series, say like Harry Potter? Like, would you decide, let's now make a
Shh,
Ron Weasley movie?
Don't give him any ideas.
Would you make a Ron Weasley movie? Would you make a Hermione Granger movie? Would you make a Remus Lupin movie? You know what I mean? And you're like, well, there is backstory there. Like, we could find out how Lupin became a werewolf. And it's like, yeah, but is it a good idea, though? Is that a good movie?
Yeah.
Or did you get everything you got from the fact that Lupin's character is based on his relationship with Harry? And that's the story, not.
And the other
So,
thing is that
yeah.
it's like with the MCU, it's we can speculate as to where it's going because it's kind of using the comics as a guideline. It's not really like page for page adaptation.
Yeah.
So it's still, you don't know what way it's going to go. So you might watch it to see, like, well, how does it lead to Secret Wars and what does that even mean? But with something like The Lord of the Rings is that we 100% know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
So we're really just filling in the gaps a little bit. Now, in saying that, that's kind of what the Silmarillion is in terms of the writings, but that's a little different because it's more like a history book. It's filling in the history. It's not really concerned about characters or character development because you could read like one page and then on the next page they're dead. So it's not really interested in necessarily the characters, but rather what's the beginnings of the world, where the elves come from, and what's their culture like, etc., and how that leads up to, you know, the makings of the Rings of Power and stuff. It's that I don't know how well that translates into film either. And I think the Rings of Power show is showing that is actually almost impossible because they had to condense the timeline.
Yeah, 100%. And in a way, like, because I remember early on when we had seen nothing of it yet, and I just kind of knew the loose concept. And I remember being like, this is a bad idea. I don't like it. And not
like
because
this.
I don't like this. Chrissy, wake up. Because I was like, how long is the show going to be if they're going to do those events? And who am I actually going to relate to in terms of character? I was like, I don't think it's adaptable in that way. So, and when they came in and said they're condensing it, I know it pissed off a lot of people, but I was like, okay, but as a show watcher, though, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Because it means that there will be characters to follow and events will happen within time proximity that keeps a show actually fucking interesting. You know what I mean? You can't watch a show that goes on for years and years before anything actually fucking happens because they're being really, really accurate to the book. Like, that's a bad show. It might be a good book because books can go, and then 1,000 years passed, and you know what I mean? But if a show started doing that, it would be like, we're jumping all over the place and I don't care, you know? It wouldn't work. Sometimes you have to. It's like, well, people have said that about the Lord of the Rings books anyway, is that they are not filmable.
Yes.
And it's true. It is true. Like, as in page for page adaptation. they're not. It's not possible. They're 17 years past of Frodo having that ring. So if you stayed accurate to that, rather than kind of in the movie they kind of just go, well, it's been about 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we go longer than that, it's just like it's too big a time gap for the urgency we're trying to put on this thing. You know what I mean? The book is different.
As well as the tree, isn't like 3 chapters or something like that where they're kind of in and around Tom Bombadil, and nothing actually happens really. Like
and also, it's like the second chapter as well. It's like, here's the entire origin of Gollum and the ring and everything. And then by the time they get to Rivendell, it's like, here's the origin of everything. And you can't do it in a movie because that's just way too much. There's already a lot of exposition in those movies.
In saying that, it's fantastic to read. Like, when reading it, you're like, this is fucking so cool and so much lore here, and this is amazing. Yeah, keep feeding it to me. But it just wouldn't work in film like that. The pacing would be wrong, and you need to move on, you know?
Yeah.
Might work in a video game. Maybe could is the Lord of the Rings page for page adaptable as a video game? I mean, Kojima has made longer cutscenes.
Well, with the amount of walking and talking, I feel like it'd be a Quantic Dream game.
Walk. No, it could be a Death Stranding game.
Yeah, you see what I mean? It could be Hideo Kojima makes the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Christ.
Nuts would that be?
Like, why are all the women in bikinis?
Why am I seeing this side of the female dwarves? Would you at all be interested in seeing these Lord of the Rings movies that may come?
Like, it is going to happen, so we just kind of have to just go with it. Like, so all I can hope for is that it isn't like a conveyor belt of products that's constantly coming out where we're getting like 2 a year. Like, as Lord of the Rings fans, we tend to be fairly starved for Lord of the Rings content because it's like every 10 years we get something. So
yeah, right.
It would be nice to get more frequent Lord of the Rings content, but not as frequent as like Star Wars or anything that Disney's doing. Actually, just don't copy what Disney's doing, and also don't copy what WB has been doing for the last 10 years either with any of their products.
Be careful who you cast.
With Warner Brothers, they've no plan, and then they're just throwing out stuff. So it's like, this is bullshit. What you're doing. But then with Disney, they're planning too much. So it's like, stop planning.
Like, slow down.
Like,
let something breathe. Let people. I can't imagine what it's like now to be like, because when we were younger, the big movie comes out and you get all the toys for it and stuff, right? Like when you're a kid, and it's just that's what you live and breathe for that time period, and it's awesome. That kind of defines it. Yeah, it defines your era at that moment. And then the next big thing comes and you kind of move on to that. It's not that you forget the other thing, but it's just now you're in that phase for that time period. And it's like, if your birthday's coming up, it's like, I know exactly what to get him because he's mad into this now, you know? And I can't imagine what it's like now being like growing up with like Marvel and Star Wars now, where it's just like everything is like the phases are just so quick. And it's like, oh, it wasn't Ant-Man, but that was yesterday. Now I'm into, it's like, it's just so quick. And it's like, when do you ever go through a phase? Well, I suppose you just go through a phase of MCU, but you're never going through your like I went through a Spider-Man phase where Spider-Man was my guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it wasn't like 3 or 4 years there's a movie.
Yeah, but it wasn't just Marvel like as a whole. It was just like, I'm really into Spider-Man now. So it must be really weird nowadays to like when do they just define like, it's like, this is who I'm into? Because I do like I'm I speak to people and they're all into like, I love the MCU. They never say which hero they love though.
Right, yeah.
And it doesn't seem to come down to that. It's just a series now. It's just a series. It's not like, oh, that's my hero who
it's the
relate to.
Coronation Street for nerds.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Well, that's what I was saying earlier. It kind of is that kind of soap kind of thing. And I'm not saying that to be offensive or anything, because I like this shit too.
Well, Coronation Street.
Yeah, big time. I love it. But no, there is that element of like, it is kind of soap and serious. Like, people always said that about Star Wars anyway. Like, Star Wars is actually a big soap opera in space, and that's
you shit your gut.
I love Star. I'm not saying bad about Star Wars, but in the end, it's a family drama, and that's really what's at the core of it, and that's what makes it relatable. It's the But
But
the
those were like
reality underneath the
our
fantasy.
three main things growing up was Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and Marvel.
Yeah,
So
in a
hopefully
sense, yeah.
Embracer does a good job because
because I'm sick of the other two.
we're now sick of the other two.
Well, that's okay. I've seen where this has gone before. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So
Eric,
that
would you
sort of
have
stuff.
interest in?
Well, I'd be on the same page as Adam. The fact it's like, well, this is happening, so we might as well just look and see. Just hopefully they don't copy, WB or Disney in their approach to this stuff. I wouldn't be totally like, yeah, boy, let's watch Gandalf light some fireworks, hey, or Gollum
This
just
should be a
talk to
whole
himself.
movie.
Actually,
Yeah,
Gollum
how
the
he
Joker.
purchases fireworks.
No, you see, right?
No, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be a fucking film called, or a TV series, right? The Bracer Group are going to make a TV series called The Grey Pilgrim, and it's literally just going to be like
His
the
adventures
fucking
and journeys.
like The Witcher or Obi-Wan, where he's just like going around Middle Earth and then occasionally has to help that poor fucker.
Or it'd be
every
like
episode.
or it'd be like a David Blaine thing where he's all like, "Oh, look at your card."
It'll be a single. One of the episodes will be called "The Conjurer of Cheap Tricks," and he's just like pulling coins behind people's ear. But I think out of all of them, like it's really weird that
That's totally wizard.
I don't know whether
Why doesn't nobody say that anymore?
I don't know what it's because of what Marvel did, but Marvel kind of cemented in people's heads that this actor is that character and they cannot be replaced, because they haven't really, apart from Ed Norton, they really haven't replaced anyone, have they?
Not that I can think of. No.
Like if a character, if an actor goes,
Like even they've taken that approach, and I mean, there's not necessarily a right answer here, right? And it still could be a very interesting movie what they've decided to do. But in terms of the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, their approach was, we're not recasting that role.
Yeah.
We're then carrying on the story that, well, then Black Panther is gone.
Yep.
And a lot of people have felt that, you'll have a lot of people who are like, well, I think that really honors what Chadwick Boseman did. But you'll have people on the other side who's like, I think it actually dishonors the character to not recast. So that's like an interesting one where it's like,
I think generally though people will find it difficult to accept someone else filling the roles of a because in their head that actor now is that character.
But you would want, right? So for example, we were saying that maybe The Adventures of Strider would be probably the most interesting movie.
Yeah.
You would want a different actor though.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was going to say is he's the only one not the only one, sorry, but I think it'd be easier for me to accept a new actor playing Aragorn than it would be for someone to replace like Gandalf. For me personally,
you need to clarify there though, because that makes it sound like because I don't really like Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn.
No,
he's excellent.
He is excellent, but I think Ian McKellen is even more excellent.
Well, Ian McKellen is dream casting.
Yeah. I think someone coming in, unless it's like, I don't know, Michael Fassbender or something. Young Gandalf.
But that would be just one of those. That's like because I'm fully convinced nowadays that the internet writes scripts. They have like a
he was
generator.
bald in that movie, so he should be Professor X.
Yeah, or it's like everyone on the internet thinks this guy should be that guy, so we should do that. That's hilarious. It'll be funny for the 12 for the people who see it in that moment, and in 10 years time nobody will get it. It'll be great. But Michael Fassbender, it's like, oh, isn't that hilarious, because he played young Magneto. He should be Gandalf. It's like, no, he shouldn't. Yeah.
I think that would be a hard one.
Does Gandalf age? I thought Gandalf was like always
no, he doesn't.
old.
Yeah, he's always old.
I thought, because isn't that why? I don't know if I can't remember if it's in the book, but like in the movie, Bilbo thought he was dead because I'd imagine when he was a kid and saw Gandalf, he was old. So like,
that's the interesting thing about Gandalf, is that it's like he's a Maya spirit, right? So he's really, really powerful, but he takes on the guise of an old man. So the spirit of Gandalf is way more capable than the body allows.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny,
yeah.
I think.
It is, yes, gas. It's like, I have a duty. Why did I pick this?
If only I can get there sooner.
Maybe if I let this Balrog kill me, I'll get a younger body.
Yeah, I
He's
can go back to the character creation menu and make some changes.
it's like I can spend my XP points on
De-aging
It's
myself.
like, oh shit, make myself younger or get this sick ass robe. Oh fuck.
Okay, well, the
This is
robe,
tough, this is tough.
I'll be able to. The robe gives me more dexterity, and I gotta be battling loads. So,
Yeah.
whereas
that's
the younger body just gives me more
I
charisma.
think the movies and stuff is an area of like caution a little bit, but I think the exciting thing about the acquisition is finally we can get some video games surrounding Middle Earth, because
Yeah, well,
this
I
is
just-
obviously a game company, and
But before we go on to that, though, I know I just wanted to say on the movie front,
Yeah.
right? I'm on a similar note to you guys in that I'm not like over the moon about any of it, really. However, that is not to say, and I would like to put it out there, it is not to say that it's impossible to take any one of these characters, right, and the right team and the right director and make a good movie, right?
yeah,
And so my example, so for example, you say to me a Gollum movie, I say disaster, don't do it. That's a fucking stupid idea.
what if it
The
was like
thing
a
that
Todd
makes-
Phillips Joker style?
This is exactly what I was about to say.
That's what I said.
So
like,
I was
5 minutes ago.
adamantly against
Yeah.
a Joker movie because I was like, the thing that makes Joker good is when he's with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, don't make him the hero of his own story. That's an awful idea. But then you get a director who has an actual creative approach. He gets a really talented actor. He gets a great team together, and they make a really solid movie to the point where you're like, I didn't want this, but I'm actually surprised and glad they made it. So that is to say that, no, I'm not excited about these movies about these singular characters, but could someone make a fucking excellent movie about Eowyn? It's possible. It's not
Yeah,
impossible.
yeah.
It could happen.
Yeah.
So
Well, I suppose that
TV
they
show called, like,
realized
the
that
Shield Maiden's Tale.
the Lord of the Rings and all its material, what makes them interesting is the characters and character interaction, not the action. If you go like thinking you're gonna it's all about the action and fantasy fighting, you get The Hobbit. If you understand that it's about the character interaction, that there is action in it, you get The Lord of the Rings. And I think that's how they need to kind of approach this stuff. So yeah, like I mean, even like if they got the writers to the Sherlock BBC to write one of these up, and they're also the writers of Doctor Who, they tend to have a very good understanding of the character, and they write some of the best dialogue ever. So
right, and they understand tone though. They understand that, well, for Doctor Who it needs to be this, but for Sherlock it needs to be this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they understand that. But yeah. So anyway, sorry, as you were saying about the games, which is more exciting, I think.
yeah, oh yeah.
That's yeah.
But there's also like, I mean, they have their own gaming studios, obviously, but they have they're still honoring the licensing that's already out there, because there isn't it Take Two or TK or whatever the fuck.
I think they're two different things. No,
they're making a game with Weta Workshop.
I heard this. Yes.
Yeah. So that's not obviously part of Embracer. So they're still honoring that. We're still getting that Gollum game that everyone's excited about.
Well, I was just about to bring that up, right? That because I was wondering about that, because about a month ago, maybe a little bit more, the developers of Gollum put out like a post, basically saying that we have to delay the game by a few months, but they haven't followed up with why that is. Well, we know why that is. It's to work on the quality of the game. They did get a lot of backlash from people. You know, many people wrote online, "Oh, it looks like a PS2 game" or whatever. Like, it just doesn't look next gen at all. But they didn't put like a deadline on it, or here's the new reveal date then, or we've delayed it to this date, for example. They've just said by a few months we'll be in touch soon. I'm wondering, was this deal already in the, like, because sometimes it takes a while before these things are let known public. Was this deal already in the works, or were they like, you're not putting that out like that, or was it just based on the feedback of people?
I said it was based on the feedback of people, because Embracer wouldn't have a say on
because that was already an agreed.
Well, they wouldn't anyway. Again, they own the licensing, so they will just license out. They get money off it regardless.
Of course.
but it would be WB who are, who have the final say on that. It's still the individual companies who are making whatever products from it. They have full control over the product. It's just the licensing that they're pretty much renting from Embracer now.
Yes, yeah. That makes sense. Okay, cool. So then, aside from that, what do we want to see video game wise?
Elder Scrolls.
Right.
I want the Elder Scrolls in Middle Earth. Like, how is that not a thing yet?
Yeah. I 100% agree.
Like, they've pretty much dabbled in nearly every other possible game genre.
It's weird
that you could do with Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Bar that one.
Well, I think that there's an approach, right? And I think we've brought this up with some other games, in particular when we were talking about like this 007 game that will come in the future, which is the like, what is the fantasy? And what I mean, like, what is the player's fantasy? So when it came to Batman, it was, well, to just be Batman. To just feel like you are a detective and you're taking on crime and you're doing all these things. Like for Spider-Man, what is the fantasy? It's swinging around New York. That's the fantasy. If you can just nail that, I'm happy. That's the Spider-Man experience. Or it's why they haven't made it. They can't make a Superman game because the expectation of the fantasy now is, well, I want to feel like I have the capabilities of Superman. And it's like, well, we can't limit that. So therefore, it'd be a bad game because we'd have to limit that.
Can't he walk on the sun?
Yeah, see, like, what the fuck do you do there? So wait till the PS10, but the whatever becomes available then, or like the Harry Potter fantasy seems to be in the works at the moment, which is it's not I want to play as Harry Potter. I want to go to Hogwarts.
Yeah.
I want to explore Hogwarts. I want to learn the spells. I want to go out into the world. So what is the Lord of the Rings fantasy? It isn't actually what they've been making, right? I'd say maybe the closest thing it was maybe Battle for Middle Earth, which was like, what is the fantasy in terms of being involved in all these giant battles thing, right? But what's the actual Lord of the Rings fantasy? It is
walk up Caradhras.
It is to go to, it is to be in Middle Earth and to explore Middle Earth at your own pace, I think.
I want to see mountains again.
Yeah. So I personally agree that I think that is the approach. Pick your race, make your character. Maybe there is an online component, but it's not an MMO. The online component, I would say, is that you can invite a friend into your game or a couple of friends so that you can build your own fellowship.
Yeah. And there is,
but that would be
there is a Lord of the Rings MMO, and it's actually not bad. It's pretty good. But it's quite limited. It's only available on PC through Steam. So what is missing is that's still the usual MMO style where you're building a party and doing raids kind of thing, and then the other aspects or ways that you can explore Middle Earth is that people make mods in certain games. Like, so there's a mod for Elder Scrolls to try and make it a little bit more Lord of the Ringsy. And there's a mod for Minecraft where people have built Middle Earth in Minecraft, and you can actually go on tours, and people will, the people who've made it will actually kind of bring you on a virtual tour around Middle Earth through Minecraft.
Right.
And it looks great. It's really, really impressive, but it's like there's obviously a want for this material if people are making mods in other games for this kind of stuff. So that is the most obvious.
Yeah. Eric, is that also what you would want, or would you be wanting something else in the gaming sphere?
Yes, that absolutely, always. I think we've said that since.
And Middle Earth karting.
Yeah, why not, man? Fucking bobblehead Gandalf going around on a cart, throws a banana at throws a firework.
Well, he has the ability to throw fireworks.
Yeah. He throws fireworks at Sauron, and he like spins, and all of his like
gold rings. Rides around on ground.
What was a joke is turning into a fantastic idea for a mobile game. Yeah. Embrace it.
Well, you know what? A remake of Two Towers, Return of the King, Battle for Middle Earth, make them.
Yeah. Remakes or remasters, or what do you think?
No, remakes, man.
Okay. Yeah.
Because then you have the better graphics. Remastering is just slightly HDing.
Everyone wants that. I wonder how I wonder what would need to happen in order for that to actually come to fruition. Because
To which the Battle for Middle Earth remake.
yeah, or the Two
Well, there's
Towers, or
already
the Return of
people-
the King.
There's people already reforging that.
Yeah,
Essentially
as
Unreal-
as
Unreal
kind of
Engine.
it's a free kind of community project.
Yeah.
But it would have to be EA themselves.
Yeah, you see, Battle for Middle Earth was forged in the fires of EA, and only there can it be reforged.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But I mean,
Or
if
just
they really
down
wanted to,
piss
they
off.
could. I imagine Embracer would go, yeah, go ahead. Just gives us the money.
Here's the license because people
Yeah.
want it, and we know we'll make a bookload of money on it. So
Yeah.
why not? Yeah, do it. I wonder if this dream Middle Earth game was to be made, which is to me is the no-brainer one, this needs to be made. It's gonna be a couple of years down the line, but it's gonna be the experience, and you're gonna get quests and things like that. But I don't know how you guys feel. I wouldn't set it around like the whole Sauron thing. I would probably
I would.
not want Sauron involved at all, actually, because
not
I would feel like
directly, but
I'd feel like then it would just tie in too much with like, and here's the events of the movies happening as well.
well, I
You
would
know, and
tie it in
wouldn't
with
want that.
which I think is actually another Embracer Group property now. Actually, is the One Ring RPG.
Mhm.
That's based in between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, right? Because there's like 60
All right,
years
so, like,
between.
Sauron's on the rise, but it's not full
Yeah,
blown. We're all at war with Sauron yet.
Yeah, like you're starting. Yeah, like
But there's skirmishes with orcs and things.
because he kind of came back a little bit in Dol Guldur. He was banished. He's now has influence in the east. The Witch King is starting to stir up his army in the north and all this kind of stuff. There's the possibility for an enemy without it being the enemy. You know,
But I wonder then, like, for it to feel like its own game experience, do you need an enemy? And the reason why I was wondering, do you get away from Sauron and do a different time period where someone else can be like the enemy, is because I cannot stand, right? They do it in a lot of these Lord of the Rings games, and it's something that they also do in like Star Wars games, where they realize they need a villain, right? So they make up some fucking, this guy was like the Black Hand of Sauron, and it was some human dude who basically looks like the mouth of Sauron, and he's the villain, but they do a couple of them, and there's a few different games that have basically that guy, and he's the villain of this, and I hate it. I don't like it at all.
well, that one
They
actually
do the same
kind
thing
of
in Star
works,
Wars
though.
where they go, there's Vader and the Emperor, but we can't do them because everyone knows what happens to them.
Yeah.
So there's this secret apprentice that they always had.
I think
you know,
Star
or
Wars
something
is
stupid.
They certainly
you
don't
know?
get away with it with Star Wars just because they've made the rule of two, and that is a bit kind of okay. You're kind of breaking lore a little bit here.
Yeah. It's like, but they're not Sith, they're Inquisitors. It's like, but they have Force and red lightsabers. Like,
Sure.
what is the
Yeah.
difference? Like, what is
whatever, man. You tell
Yeah.
yourself whatever you need.
Who
to.
are you kidding? Who
But
are you
there-
kidding?
There is it works a little bit easier with the Middle Earth stuff just because you do have the black Numenorians. Black is
yeah.
not skin color. Just
No, I
they're
know. I
evil.
know. Yeah.
And I think that's what the Shadow Games were trying to do. I think he's like a black Numenorian, right?
No, the Black Hand of Sauron is actually Sauron
Oh, okay. Spoiler alert.
in human form.
That
Yeah,
would
don't worry
that
about
would
it.
make
You're not
sense.
missing much.
And then I think
Yeah.
there's the Hammer of Sauron, which and the Tower of Sauron. They're just again corrupted humans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see, well, and okay, when I use that name, by the way, I actually didn't know that was the name of the character. I was literally throwing out a random example of, there'll be some guy who looks like the mouth of Sauron and he's called something along the lines of, so I didn't know that's what he's called. But like, I was even thinking, like, wasn't there a game called War in the North? And they
Yeah,
also
isn't
had a
that-
character that is the fucking same thing.
Yeah, isn't
on
he
a
the one
horse.
that looks like the mouth of Sauron?
They all look like the mouth of Sauron.
No,
when
they don't all look like the
I
mouth of
don't mean,
Sauron.
hold on. I don't mean exactly like, but like they're very fucking similar.
Yeah.
It'll be some human dude who looks like that,
Yeah.
called the something of Sauron,
right.
and that'll be the villain. And what I'm saying is, I think that's very uncreative, and I think they should come up with a different enemy.
I think came up with a different name, but I think that is probably the only way you could do a major villain
Well, could you do, say, a cultist of Morgoth who's not necessarily like there could be this evil cult somewhere and they're not followers of Sauron, they're followers of Morgoth.
I don't know. I don't know if
And you could get into more ancient evil, maybe. Like you could set it in an age before Sauron,
yes,
but
yeah,
after Morgoth.
you would need to do that. But I don't think they can necessarily.
Why not?
Because
That's
they only have the rights to the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit.
They don't have the rights to everything else. So they can't do anything on like the fall of Gondolin
But
or
so-
the Children of Hurin.
No. But you don't have to tell those events. But can they not set it in a Middle Earth during a period that is referenced in the Lord of the Rings because they have the rights to the Lord of the Rings?
You kind of could.
They talk about those time
it,
periods.
it would be basically the set in the Rings of Power era, basically.
Sure.
But
Somewhere in that time period.
I don't know if that is as interesting as setting it between the Hobbit, because
I'm just saying I don't think you should go to Rohan and meet Theoden. I think it should be all unknown, unnamed characters.
well, it could be. It doesn't have to be Theoden at that point, but
This is what I mean. I think it should all be.
you
characters
definitely
that
should go to Rohan, which it wouldn't
Oh!
be. There wouldn't be a Rohan in Second Age, though. That's the thing.
Well, there'd be something in that land area, though.
Gondor,
There is something in
isn't
that
it?
landmass,
It's
right?
owned by Gondor?
Well, it wouldn't be Gondor because it wouldn't have been established necessarily just yet, unless you're going way late.
Where was Gondor when the toilet flushed? Where was Gondor when? Did you see that? There was a thread on Twitter.
I
and
think
it was
just
if you
before-
type in "where was Gondor" and then use your
Alright.
predictive text, what comes up?
I do think, setting it between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings kind of gives you enough leeway to make up shit and do what you want with it.
Sure.
But also making it kind of familiar enough that people who only know the movies can really enjoy
Can
it.
live their fantasy. Of,
And at
yeah.
least if you set it there, you have the choice of all the races.
Oh, I see. Yeah. And actually, that's the question I'd love to ask you guys. What races do you limit it to?
As a
And
player.
the reason I asked that, for example, right, because we're talking like Elder Scrolls is sort of a example of the kind of game we're looking at, or like sort of a framework. And in that, you can play as an orc because orcs have a different thing there. But in this, I would say absolutely not. You do not.
Well, no, but
cannot
you
make
have
an
a
orc.
choice of the hobbits, dwarves, elves, and men. But similarly enough, in Elder Scrolls, the way they divide
The men
humans into categories and they divide the elves.
Yeah,
into
so like a
categories.
Gondorian, Rohirrim, or
Rohirrim.
Rovanian maybe, or like
Rovanian.
a Man of Dale or something.
Yeah,
An
but then-
Erebor dwarf or a Blue
You know,
Mountains
you know,
dwarf.
you know what you just do, right? You just get the one ring and you just do that as a video game because they have it divided up.
Yeah.
They have the humans
Yeah,
divided up,
yeah.
the hobbits divided up, they have the dwarves divided up, and the elves divided up. So
Yeah.
you just do that.
Yes, makes sense. But as well, I would think as well that it would be cool in a game perspective that even whoever you pick, and they might start off with certain perks, I don't think you should be stuck to that kind of skill tree. Much like Elder Scrolls, where over time, if you decide, no, I want to be like a magician, I want to be a magic person as this goes on. That
I
you
don't
should be
know.
able to learn that. Well, everyone can learn Elvish magic.
No, not really.
Yeah.
No.
See, magic. Yeah, that's.
Was there not
that's
a
the area
line
where
in-
it gets a bit? It gets.
Was
a
there
bit,
not? Was there not a line in the Hobbit movies, right,
Yeah. Right.
where Saruman talks about how the necromancer is nothing more than just a human sorcerer dabbling in black magic, which would lead one to assume that mortals can learn magic.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be a key component of the gameplay. I'm saying it needs to be just an available skill tree to learn very basic spell casting.
incorrect.
Why is that incorrect?
I don't think you. I think you could have magic in the lore of the game, but
Mhm.
not as a mechanic in the game. And the reason for that is because magic is one of those things in Middle Earth that's not easily attainable. Like it really
Mhm.
isn't. Like you have to run through, and it's generally the spoken word is magic, and it's not very exciting when it comes to gameplay. Things like songs, for example, are magic in Middle Earth.
Yes,
that's
yes,
not
yes,
that's
yes.
not exactly exciting. Elvish, its spoken world and the way it's able to open up doors is magic. So magic is a little bit more. I actually think I could be wrong here, really, but my understanding of magic or my interpretation of magic in Middle Earth is actually wisdom. Like the more you know, the more you're able to tap into. That's why the elves are more magical than humans, and that's why humans can kind of tap into magic because they're not that far away from becoming elf-like, and there is some elven blood in some people as well. So I think it's like the more wise you are.
But could it not be like? I mean, I get that, right? But I'm also talking about there is a real mystical side to it, in which in the book, Elrond summons water horses to fucking kick the fuck out of the Nazgul. So that's not just the wisdom or language. That's actually interacting with the environment.
Well,
in some,
well, it's
would
actually
it then be that depending on the race you're choosing depends on the...
That's what I'm saying, though, because if that's the case, people would just pick elves because they have way more.
Well, not
gameplay
necessarily.
options.
If you're wanting to be more stealthy, you pick a hobbit.
But I
Because a
don't know.
hobbit can go unseen to people, so naturally.
Yeah.
My memory of it is I can't remember whether or not that was the elves who summoned the water, or if the water itself was magical.
I see what you're saying, and you're asking maybe ask the river for help.
It's Glorfindel who did that.
Oh, was it Glorfindel?
Yeah, and
I thought it was Elrond.
I think because Glorfindel is one of the few elves that died and came back. He's like a reincarnation. So he kind of has he's a little bit tapped into, like, he's such a badass that the gods went, no, we're sending you back.
So when, like, okay, I know that when you watch the Lord of the Rings movies, magic isn't a key component of what you see, right? But for example, the Witch King of Angmar in lore, were they known as the Witch King before they became a ringwraith?
I'm not sure,
actually. They were. I thought they were. And in which case, it's like, so do they have magic or not? Like, and is it just they say? I honestly believe.
I don't think it's
the
D&D
actual
style of magic.
I think in the lore of Middle Earth,
Yeah.
people can cast fire.
No, I don't.
That's what I'm saying.
I
I
don't
think they
so.
can.
No,
I think they can.
I don't think
They just have to learn it.
No.
Yeah,
and I think that's what
the
separates
College of Winterhold.
I think that's what separates Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Middle Earth is a little bit more. It's a little bit more grounded, I think, and I don't think people are able to cast magic, and I think that's one of those things that if you add that into the game, I think it's more fun for gameplay wise. But I think that's where possibly people who are really into Middle Earth might go a bit get a bit mad. I mean, magic is not really something that's in other games either. I mean, Shadow games kind of touch on magic a little bit.
But that's because you're half race, so
yeah, and those games
it just sounds funny to me because the whole thing is about magic rings. But whatever.
I know, but it's magical in
Eric, yeah, I know. I want to hear Eric. I want to hear your take on this, on the whole magic thing. What do you think? Like, is it something that should be included, or is Adam absolutely on the ball?
Did I not say my point that it's?
I don't think so.
The race you choose depends on the abilities you get.
So you say it's just tied to the elves or whatever?
No, well, yeah, whatever. Each species has its own natural inherent abilities. So elves are more magical because they were made to be more magical. Hobbits are more stealthy because that's the way they were made. Dwarves are more hardy. Humans are more resourceful. So therefore, depending on the race you choose, depends on the balance of stats.
So there should be a set skill tree, is what you're saying, based on your race.
See, that's what I was wondering then.
No,
does it mean
I'm
that
saying
who you play
skills,
as...
with skills, it's your basic things like improving your block, improve your attack, improve your speech, improve your stealth, improve your archery and your crafting.
Okay,
and
hold on. I just see this is where I get a bit confused
because those are skills everyone can have. Though.
Exactly, right. That's my point. So you can increase you can better your stealth no matter which race you pick. That's not just a Hobbit thing. But you can't do up your magic no matter which race you pick because not every race has it.
No, but
so there's an unfair advantage to being an elf.
But but if you look at all the different races in Elder Scrolls, they each have a unique ability to them that allows them to.
But they can all shoot fire out of their hands if you want to.
Yeah, but the Elder Scrolls is different because it's more like D&D.
So what we're stating is, yes,
that's what I'm trying to.
My point is that there wouldn't be fire casting in the game.
No, because
I hear you.
Right. So, but then what I'm saying is that the hobbits have like, once a day you press L2 and R2, and the hobbit kind of becomes invisible on screen. They're not actually invisible, but as
Right.
far as everyone else is concerned, they're invisible.
But then
A
if you pick
Gondorian
another
can piss
character,
everyone off because they're elitist
if
pricks.
you pick a Gondorian, can you find other means of copying what the Hobbit can do? Like you can go invisible because you could get an Elvish cape.
Right. But that's a piece of clothing. So you can get a magical ring. That might
Okay, so you could get magic items.
you get magic
But
items.
can you, as a human, get a staff that casts fire?
Okay, that I'm down for. That I'm down for. That's
well,
okay.
magical items.
Magical
yeah.
items, yeah.
I don't mean the fire thing was a joke, but the actual like.
But you can get a ring that would make you resistant to fire.
Yeah,
because there are many magic rings in this world, Frodo, and none of them should be used lightly.
perfect. But I think that's the most exciting thing about this
okay,
acquisition is that, with under WB, we got, I think, probably the worst of the Lord of the Rings style games. I apologize if people love the Shadow games, but I think they're really lore breaking and not actually that fun. Then we have that Gollum game and a couple of mobile games, right?
Hold on, are you trying to tell me that Shelob does not look like Eastern
I
European
fucking
model?
love that. Like, do you see the thing where it's like Tolkien writing to his son to say, like, whatever they do, if they ever put Shelob, make sure they make her canonically correct, where she's like a smoking hot chick.
At least I got that right.
Yeah. So, this massive video game company purchasing the Middle-earth Enterprise indicates that they are serious about making Lord of the Rings games. Thank fuck. Like, we're actually going, like, because for a while they were like, where's the Lord of the Rings stuff? Like, the WB was really like, they were really lazy with the shit, or not at least trusting the product. So that's what I'm most excited about is the video games. The other one, so I'm a little worried about the movie side of things, excited about the video game side of things. The other area where I'm like, oh fuck, is the Games Workshop tabletop game.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right, because this also gives them the rights to things like the jigsaws and like toys and
I'm really worried about the jigsaw side of things.
But the only reason I'm worried, like, because with the tabletop gaming side of things is that obviously they are going to have to continue to buy the license then from, I think they're okay for a number of years, and I think their licensing agreements would be totally fine, only that the Bracer Group owns a company, I think they're called Asmodee, I think is the name of them. But they're the guys who make Star Wars Legion and Marvel Crisis Protocol, which are two tabletop games that kind of sprung out of nowhere and became hugely successful, which are direct competitors with the stuff that Games Workshop does. So if it got to a point where Games Workshop's license ran out, why would you bother license out a Lord of the Rings tabletop game when you have a company that does two successful tabletops?
Yeah.
So my worry is that they'll lose the license for the Middle-earth strategy game.
10,000 models strong at least.
Yeah, everything will just, I'd have to try everything out, really.
Well, you could keep them.
Well, you can keep them, yeah. But it'd be,
I mean, Jesus.
It'd be a different rule set, different miniatures. Everything would change. So I'm pretty worried about. So it affects quite a lot, actually, owning Middle-earth Enterprises.
But I don't know if because what'll happen there, like I don't think Embracer. Like I think I think the games and the movies is really where they're looking at, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And I feel like with like Games Workshop would be like, well, we want to continue buying this license to continue doing what we're doing. And I think Embracer would be just happy enough to go, yeah, okay.
Well, hopefully.
Like, you're doing that thing and you've been doing it for years and it's working. So yes, keep going. Like we don't have a problem with that. But we're seeing a waste of potential over here. And this is why we're swooping in. The games is the most exciting thing, I think, because it is a video game company. I don't know why they made that comment about the movies. I think that was a stupid comment to even make. to be honest.
Yeah, it's
because I
unusual.
think it highlighted the possibility for movies. What they should have done is saying, yeah, there's a potential to make video games about this and video games about that, and that's what people should be more focused on, rather than like the possibility of like an AON movie, and you're just like,
In terms of video games, would
What?
you want them
What?
to license it out to other studios, like the way they kind of would be dealing with the other side of their business, or would it be Eidos is now going to be making Lord of the Rings games?
I think a mix of the two, personally. I think, like anything, it's the right people for the job should be the people to do it. So if there's, like if a studio comes along and they say, listen, we have this idea for a Lord of the Rings game. We're coming to you because obviously you own the license. This is the idea we want to pitch. It was such a good idea that they have. I don't think they should be like, yeah, but we're only letting Eidos make them, or something like that. They should absolutely, if the idea is good enough, then greenlight it. But also utilize the studios that you have and get some working on it. Like, there's talent there.
The Tomb Raider game engine. If they were like, we want you to utilize your resources, but we want a Lord of the Rings game, and it has to use the Tomb Raider engine, what would that game be?
A Mirkwood elf going through the forests of Mirkwood, defending against orcs invading from the Kingdom of Angmar.
I mean, I'd play that. There's like a lot of answers to that question, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, there's not one.
A member of the Dunedain, perhaps.
Yeah.
Kind of exploring the fallen kingdom of Arnor, perhaps looking for falling artifacts to bring back to Gondor.
I'll tell you what I do hope from the gaming sphere, actually, now that I think about it. Because when I think about the big fantasy games that they could take inspiration from, I do hope that what we want, the Elder Scrolls kind of a thing, becomes the inspiration, and not, and this is no disrespect to this particular game, but not The Witcher 3.
No, yeah.
Which that kind of game would be maybe, and that sprung on me when you said a Dunedain, like you're playing as maybe a Dunedain ranger who travels the world and takes on jobs and beasts and that kind of thing. And it's like, well,
it's
could
more
be The Witcher,
likely,
but it's Middle Earth.
Yeah, it's more likely that's what they would do.
That falls more in line with some of the stuff that has happened previously, I guess.
Yep.
And that's something that wouldn't interest me all that much, I don't think. Unless now, again, like everything, if it's executed well, there's no point in saying, oh, it's a total write-off. If it happened and it's a really well-told game and it's a great character and it's a great story and the gameplay is fantastic, of course it could be good. There's no point in saying that's an awful idea. But it's not necessarily the idea I want, It's not.
Yeah. Ultimately, we want more. I suppose what we would hope for now is a sandboxy style game where we get to just fuck around in Middle Earth. Like, I want to be able to light myself on fire and jump off Minas Tirith and just see what happens.
we want to create our own adventure within the game.
I'd be down for both of those, because one is I create my own adventure in Middle Earth. The other one then is I'm living an adventure.
It would be cool.
Do you know what?
I'm just thinking about like the Tomb Raider engine and stuff like that. It would be cool exploring the caverns and tombs and like the dark places of the world, the kind of things you come across, the nameless spheres.
Yeah. But then the other one is
Shadow
exploring
and Flame.
the people.
Yeah.
So one is
yeah. But
so
you know what,
all of you,
Eric, you're bang on. Why limit it to one? They have bought this IP. Why not all these games? Why not?
Yeah.
All of the above. Yeah, 100%.
Everything but
give
mobile.
us Middle Earth go karting.
Yeah, I'd fucking play it.
The Middle Earth karting, yeah. Yeah. It'll be like the pop figure style, with the big huge heads and there's just little.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah. 100% it would.
Sauron's little body, and
so
then
Gollum. What's their cart then, right? So Gollum has this little kind of boat thing.
Yeah.
On wheels.
On wheels.
Gandalf would have his cart as well
with the fireworks. The fireworks.
Yeah.
Fireworks.
The fireworks make you go faster. Every time it's like
a
NOS a little bit.
100%. Yeah. Gollum as well.
The-
His animation is that his hands are outside of it. And
Yeah, he's just doing that.
He's doing that along the road. He's videos. He has the ability as well. Like when he gets a crate, there's like fish in it. He can throw fish at people. Like that's his thing.
Yeah. Gothmog has to be on
Which-
Grand. That's
100%.
Gothmog on Grand.
Riding
Witch
Grand
King
down
is
the
on the
road.
Fell Beast.
Yep.
Nazgul
Yeah.
is just on a horse.
Um,
Sauron is on a converted Barad-dûr.
right.
Barad-dûr is converted into a cart. He goes like that. Saruman is on the back of.
Why is it all villains?
Grima.
Where's
Yeah,
Because
where's all the
they're the
heroes,
only
man?
ones. They're the only ones that are kind of you can
Where-
do interesting things with them. It'd be hilarious to have big Saruman's head. But
I
he's
think
on top
Gimli
of
could
Grima.
be in
burnt
like
on.
a kind of a dwarven mine cart.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. And Bill the Pony could be in Sam. Sorry, that's weird.
Just a little.
Just a little
Just a
weird.
little.
Is there anything else then that either of you wanted to bring up around this topic before we come to the culmination of this week's episode?
Just how odd, like this came out of nowhere. Really, I can't imagine if you were to go like, okay, Middle Earth Enterprises is for sale. That's the last company I expect to buy it.
Yeah, because I didn't even know about
I'm
them.
actually surprised.
Like I've heard of them before, but I keep forgetting about them. So
I'm actually surprised and also delighted that Disney didn't buy it.
Yes.
yes, yeah. I would not have been impressed with that.
Yeah,
In fact, I would have been very worried about that.
yeah.
Much more worried than this because I don't know enough about this group to have concerns other than the possibility of milking this in a way I don't want versus the other possibility, which is just as equal, that great content comes out of this. So
Yeah, that's where my excitement is that, you know, if the fact that this company that we don't really know much about have bought it, that they obviously have huge potential for it. Like they see something in this. I'm surprised WB didn't like try and snatch this up considering how close they were with probably for years.
I know, but they obviously, it's very clear for the years that they don't know what to do with it and they have no drive to do anything with it. And they clearly looked at it and thought there's nothing to be done with this.
Yeah, they're focusing way more on the DC side of things now.
Nearly too much to the point where they have actually lost sight of how many good properties they have. And if they're working on all of them, they could have had this great engine of stuff going out there.
Yeah.
And they've kind of put all their chips in one, or all their eggs in one basket.
So this could be a rebirth for Lord of the Rings content. So I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about the future of Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah, me too. Eric, you cautiously optimistic?
I'd be gaming side, not so much. I'd be excited about that. Movie side, yes. Because I'm even thinking.
Wait, no, that confused me. Sorry, on the gaming side, you are not optimistic, or you are not.
Sorry,
What?
I am not as cautiously optimistic with the gaming side as I would be with the movie side. Because I'm even thinking.
Oh, you're just
like,
full
they
on
could-
optimistic for the gaming side. Is that what you're
More or
saying?
less, because they could
Right,
even
right,
do
okay.
like a redo of the Third Age, you know, like a Final Fantasy RPG game, assembled party episode.
That was such a weird mashup, wasn't it?
It was, but
That
I kind
was
of
a good
enjoyed it only because, well, first I loved Lord of the Rings, but second, I just love the Final Fantasy X battle system,
Yeah.
and I was crying out for more games with it because, like, there was plenty of games. Like, you can play a game, say you like Tekken, and there's loads of fighting games. So you're like, if you like that gameplay, you'll find that gameplay in other games.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Final Fantasy X, it's actually hard to find other games that have that exact combat. So the fact that a Lord of the Rings game had it at the time, I was like, this is perfect. Now there's loads of problems with that game, but
100%. Yeah.
but the idea of doing more kind of different, like,
That was
RPGs
actually
and
oddly
stuff.
enough the closest to exploring all of Middle Earth.
yeah,
it was.
yeah, in that way that we're talking about,
Yeah.
But now we'd love to hear from all of you guys. If you've watched this YouTube, jump down in the comments, share your thoughts on the potential for the Lord of the Rings after Embracer Group have bought it. What would you like to see from a Lord of the Rings video game? You might have very different ideas of the framework that they should follow, what kind of game you'd like to see made. And also on the movie front, is there a certain character that you would actually personally love to see a movie about? Maybe it's one that is in the book that, you know, maybe you're thinking, well, Tom Bombadil was never explored at all, so why not a Tom Bombadil movie? I don't know.
Tom
Let us
Bombadil
know.
2, Civil War.
Bum bum. Let us know your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, why not give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and ring that notification bell, especially for when this December we end up doing the 20th anniversary of the Two Towers, because we did 20th anniversary of Fellowship of the Ring last
Hi-yo.
Christmas. So we will be doing the Two Towers this year. So make sure to have that notification bell rang for that. Or if you guys are listening to us on audio platforms, and you can also touch base with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give you your take on The Lord of the Rings and its potential future. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We'll also be talking about the Rings of Power when that comes around. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
And next week, we'll be talking Gamescom. See you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.